evening, everybody. Welcome back to Simple Art for Adults. My name's Erin, and it is now officially going to be part 2 of the color along. I have been trying to get this done for like the last 3 days, and things just keep happening. So we are going to get it done today, I promise. Before I get started here, I do just want to shift my light around because it's like right in my face, blinding me. So before we get started, what I want to do is just kind of go over everything I have here in front of me. Just, you know, because a lot of you guys have expressed some interest in my organizational skills, which is something that I'm working on. It's a recent goal, and so far so good. It's going well for me. So of course I have the Polychromos colored pencils that we have been using to color this picture. Let me turn on some more light here. I don't want it to be too yellow. So I have the Polychromos pencils we've been using to color the picture. I have my Tombow pencil sharpener. I have my Prismacolor colorless blender. I have my Ohuhu electric eraser. I have my Tombow Mono Zero eraser. It's a tiny little thing. It's like a retractable pencil, so if you guys are interested in that, I will put a link in the description box downstairs. Those are affiliate links, by the way, so just so you know before you use those, I do get a small commission for any purchase you make through those links. Basically everything you see here is going to be down in that description box. I have my Polychromos color combos chart, and if you're curious about this one, I use these colors to color some strawberries with. Oh my goodness, it turned out so nicely. Have my Polychromos swatch chart, so I know what colors I have. I have my page that we've been coloring. This is my cutting sheet that I cut from the Dollar Tree. I cut it and then put some washi tape along the side to kind of cover the sharp edge. And then I have a piece of tracing paper that I put washi tape around to kind of hold it still. I like this because it's transparent, and this is what I use to protect my work as I'm coloring. So in the last episode of this, we were coloring on the mushroom houses, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and continue to do today. So I'm going to zoom us in, and we are going to go up here. Now this whole entire thing from back here, I'm coloring all the inside of the houses here. So let me move my pencils and things over here so I am not constantly reaching in front of the camera. And I'm trying to figure out different ways to keep the shadows and things out of everybody's way, so I'm hoping that this is going to work out. So basically what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to go in here with my colors and start. So we've got over here, now I'm starting out with the green gold again, which was the one that we used initially for our base layer, and I am putting it down really, really lightly. I'm kind of using the side of the pencil just to get very, very little color down. And I'm holding my pencil way back. So if you guys struggle to use light pressure, this is one way that you can certainly learn how to do it. Another benefit to putting down your base layers like this is if you rotate your pencil a little bit, every few seconds you're going to keep that tip nice and sharp. And you have to sharpen your pencil less frequently, and your pencils last you longer. So that's another reason that I like doing it this way. And again, these layers, these first layers don't need to be perfect, guys. This is just a base layer. It kind of gives us something for us to lay the rest of our colors down on so we can blend them out. I am so glad that you guys are enjoying this. I really, really am. I was really concerned that you guys wouldn't really like this color along that much. Mostly because a lot of people don't really have the Polychromos, and the ones who do don't really seem to prefer them over their other pencils. So hopefully with this we will kind of maybe change your mind just a little tiny bit. I don't know for sure. I think that under here this is actually going to be, I can't tell if that's going to be part of the roof. I do believe so, because it's got like this little thing sticking up, so I think that's what we're going to do with it. We're just going to make this like part of the roof. So I'm going to come up here and put my base layer down here too, and I'm going to color the tops of the mushrooms a little bit differently. I think I'm going to make them like the traditional red color. Not 100% certain. The goal for today is to finish coloring the walls, and I know that you guys are probably getting sick of looking at these same colors. But there is method to the madness here. We're learning how to shade and blend with our Polychromos. So even though it may be a little boring at first, hopefully the end result will be worth it for you guys who are following along. We'll see. So I hope everyone has had a wonderful weekend and a wonderful week so far. Mine has been incredibly busy. Crazy, crazy busy. I have actually gotten into the planner and journaling trend lately. I don't know how many of you guys do that. If you are into planning and journaling and things of that nature, feel free to leave a comment and tell me, you know, how you do it, what you like. I have, over the last several weeks, tried several different ways of planning, including bullet journaling. And to be completely honest with you, I don't think bullet journaling works for me. I just don't think it does. So now I'm going back in with my cinnamon, which is the next color. Now over here, I'm just going to leave it alone. And I'm going to put the cinnamon where it would be kind of in shadow. So if we're imagining that the sun's just kind of shining directly on things from maybe slightly up above, we're going to have all of these things kind of slightly in shadow. So again, not very much pressure at all. I'm using the side of my pencil. I'm going to go down here under the mouse house gutter. It's just so cute. I just can't get over it. And then down here around this bush. And what I'm going to do is, so I don't have to move the book around so much, I'm going to do these first, and then I'll come back up here to the top and do those. Should make it a lot easier, I think. We're going to put some shadow here underneath this ledge where the roof is. And I do believe that this is going to be back behind this house, or this part of the house. Now I'm going to pull this color out just a little bit further than I will the darker ones, because it's going to give us a little bit of dimension to have these different colors in here. Okay, so now that the lightest layer of cinnamon is down, I'm going to go in with my burnt ochre, which is basically just a light brown, and I'm going to use light strokes, and I'm going to pull it out not quite as far as the cinnamon. So the cinnamon's up to about here, and so my ochre is going to come up to right about here. And again, I'm still just using super light pressure. Relatively a circular motion, although with these early layers it doesn't make quite as much difference. At least not on this paper. Now if you were using a smoother paper, it would make a whole lot more difference. Okay, I'm going to move over here to this side. We're going to get around these. And again, I'm putting it in the same places that I put the cinnamon. I'm just not carrying it down quite as far. So anyway, back to the journaling. I tried bullet journaling. I actually have some dotted grid paper, and I tried to use it for bullet journaling, and it didn't work for me. It confused me and I think irritated me more than helped. And I do understand how a bullet journal works and kind of what the purpose of it is. I just don't think it's for me, and that's fine. I keep like 4 different planners. So I have my main planner. Oh, sorry guys, this is the Indian Red, and I'm bringing this in just right around the very edges, just barely a hint of it. So I keep like 4 different planners. I keep one for home, one for work, one for YouTube and social media, and then another that I keep like finances and stuff in. And then of course I have my journal, which is like my diary. And I'm happy with it that way. I know what book is for what, if I actually use them, which for me is the biggest issue. But I think I finally found a system that works, that I enjoy. And I know that a lot of people do multiple planners and multiple journals. So I was thinking about perhaps doing some YouTube videos on that at some point. If it's something that you would be interested in seeing, let me know. Of course, if that's something I decide to do and you aren't interested, just be aware that I will label the titles of the videos so that you'll know if it's something about journaling or planning. You'll know that it's not something you're going to be interested in, so it won't affect you. You won't be watching videos that you won't like. Alright, so my initial layers are almost in. Almost. And I do believe they are. Okay, so at this point, I like the way that looks. I think the colors are all in the right place. So I'm going to go back in right away with my Indian red, and I'm just going to go ahead and darken it up a little and pull it out just a smidge more to make it easier to blend my ochre into it. So you want darker back here, and as you move out this way, even though it's just a little bit, you want to lighten that up quite a bit. You want to feather the color out, so that this way it's easier when you go in and you lay that ochre over it. It'll blend into it much, much easier. You'll have a lot less difficult of a time. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to come over here and do the same with this side. Now this corner is just going to be pretty dark, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. That's just going to be the Indian red. It's tucked up under everything, so the odds that it's going to see much sun are slim to none. Now I'm going to leave this, I don't want this pulled out very far. Down here maybe just a little bit more. And then of course down around the roof. And the thing about when you color like this is that this is going to look really crazy dark right now. And that's because our lightest colors aren't in there very much. Once we get all the other colors in there, it won't look quite as dark. You see what I'm doing? I'm just barely feathering that out into where the ochre is. Okay. So now that that's done, I'm going to come back in with my next darkest color, which is the ochre. And I'm going to go over that Indian red, and I'm going to pull it out and do the same thing. But I'm just going to feather it farther. I'm going to feather it farther than I did with the Indian red. I still don't want to feather it too far because I have two more colors I have to get in there. But the goal is to do it just enough so that it'll blend into the next color without a harsh line. So a lot of the comments that I read about the Polychromos are people who say that they've heard that the Polychromos don't blend because they're oil-based. That's just not the case. It's not, they will blend. It's just that it's a different blending technique. It's not like the Prismacolors that are soft and squishy like butter, where you can just kind of go over one color with another one and smash it all together and, it's like if you took one color butter and another color butter and mixed it up. You're going to have, multicolored butter. It's going to blend together nicely. Oil is a different story. You have to kind of layer one on top of each other to get that pretty blend, but it can be done. It's a little slower, but it is possible. Okay, so now I'm going in with the cinnamon. I'm going to go over everything again and pull it out. So I'm just showing you, this way it's possible that you can go, for the most part, dark to light with these pencils too. They are far more translucent than a Prismacolor. You can see through each layer a lot more than you can with your, heavily pigmented wax-based pencils. So if you wanted to go dark to light, you can. I prefer putting my colors down light to dark because I think it's easier, like I always say, it's easier to add more of your darker colors than it is to take them away. So when it comes to just placing my colors so I know where I want them, light to dark is best. I think light to dark is also better for beginners who are, you know, learning how to get their values and shades right. So I'm going to go ahead and put the cinnamon up here. Okay, so now the last color that we have is going to be the green gold. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over everything. And at this point, I'm going to use about a medium pressure now. There's not really even any need to use hard pressure, like at all. This paper in these books just grabs that pigment and pulls it down. So you don't really have to work at it too hard. So as you can see, all we've done here, really, all we had to do was just kind of layer the colors on there. We didn't have to smash anything together. We didn't have to work real hard to get it done. We just layered it and it worked out for us. Now, depending on your personal preferences, at this point, you can call this part of it finished. But for me, I don't like that toothy look. So what I do is I go in with my, let me clean this off. I have blue on my blender. And you always want to check your blenders and your light colored pencils. I go in with a colorless blender when I'm finished, just to kind of push that color down into the tooth of the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and get that finished. And basically I'm using like a medium heavy-ish pressure. I'm not pushing as hard as I can by any means. I'm using like a medium heaviest pressure and just kind of going in a circle and pushing that color down into the paper. And this will help to blend the colors out just a little bit more, kind of ease that transition between colors a little bit more, and get rid of that grainy look of the paper. Now, if you don't have a Prismacolor blender pencil, you can absolutely burnish with your pencils. That is 100% possible, but because this paper is so toothy, it will like wear your pencils down quick. So if you're gonna burnish with a pencil, one of your other options is to use like a budget brand pencil to go over the top of everything with to burnish. Budget brand pencils are typically harder anyway, so they're actually better for burnishing. The Prismacolor Verathins are going to be a really good option. Your Crayolas, your Faber-Castell Classics, anything that's nice and hard and not overly pigmented. And that is that. If I can find, I don't know where I put my paintbrush. I was not as prepared as I had hoped, apparently. So I'm going to brush off the Prismacolor blender dust with my paintbrush. And that section's finished. So now we're going to come up here and we're going to repeat the process. I'm going to start with my cinnamon. And I'm just going to go around and under where the shadows would be. Actually, we have, I think this area I'm going to like have it kind of built into the roof area of it. I don't know for sure. Maybe not. I think I'm going to color that the same as these two. So just around the edge of this. And then there's like a little space here that I need to color also that I just now noticed. So this area we need to do underneath the lip needs to be done with the cinnamon. And I'm just going to go ahead and color this whole between here and the window and the cinnamon. Very, very lightly. Again, this is the stage where I'm just kind of placing my color so I know where I want everything. And then going around the edge here is going to give it a more three-dimensional look. And then we have another one of those little ledges like we had in the first episode, so I'm going to go under it. And still just very, very light pressure. Alright. Pull this out just a little bit more up over here. And then put some here. I don't want it very thick here because there's not really a ledge or anything. Again, this is just for the three-dimensional look, so I don't want to pull it out too far. Alright, so next up on the list is going to be burnt ochre. And I'm going to go along the sides. So I'm going to put it exactly in the same place as I put the cinnamon. I'm just not going to pull it out quite as far. I want to be able to see a strip of that cinnamon because it's going to help blend it into the oak or to the green gold, which was our base color. Okay, let's go ahead and get along the top. Alright, I need to do along the actual top. Just not very much of it, just a little bit. Okay, and then over here. If I go outside the lines a little bit, guys, it's because I'm not moving my book. I'm trying to hold it still to make it easier for you guys to kind of see what's happening. So I may make a little bit of a mess, but I have erasers, so it's okay. Alright, so now over here, just a little back behind the little overhang. And then down along the bottom where it meets the top of the house. Alright, last but not least is the Indian red. So like the area down below, I'm just going to go ahead and cover this whole little nook with it. And because there are other colors under there, it's going to still look not flat. Because it's, like I said before, these are translucent colors, so you'll be able to see some of it underneath the darker color. Not one to pull this out very far. So again, I'm just kind of going down along the edges. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and darken it up. Just to kind of save myself from having to go back in a few minutes. So I'm basically just outlining. And then feathering it up just a smidge into the ochre. So I'm outlining. And then feathering it out more lightly than the outline. And I'm not going to feather it out here because there's not going to be much of a shadow where this is, but I do just want to put like a hint of it. And the same thing here. There's not going to be much of a shadow here, it's just for the dimension. So I'm just going to lightly outline, but I'm not going to feather it out. Now here I will, because there will be a shadow. There's that ledge there. So there's going to be more of a shadow here. Okay. Same thing here. Just a small little strip. Not really too concerned about the bringing it out. And the same around the top of the window. Just a light layer. Okay, so now all we have left is the top. So again, you're basically doing the same. You're basically just going to kind of outline because your Indian Red's your darkest color, and then feather it down toward the center. Lighter pressure as you get toward the center. And if it makes you feel more comfortable, you can outline it first and then come back with a lighter hand. That works too. Alright, so now that the Indian Red is in, I'm coming back in with my burnt ochre, and I'm going to go over it and come out a little further. Now at this point, you may find that you, depending on how heavily you put down your other colors, you may need to start using a more moderate pressure, and that's fine. This is going to be your last layer of color the closer you get to the edges. So if you need to use a heavier pressure now, you can. Just make sure that out toward the center you're not. You're still saving yourself some room for your other colors. I'm not going to put much here. I am going to put quite a bit here because there's going to be a pretty decent sized shadow here. So I'm going to go over the Indian Red and lighten my pressure as I go. Except for like right here. There's not going to be much sunlight there because there's just not much space. And then we put just a little bit here, just a tiny bit. That's all we need. And up here at the top, we're not going to have hardly any space for the cinnamon, and that's okay. We don't necessarily need it. We're going to go over it with the cinnamon anyway, just to kind of make sure the colors aren't flat. Alright, and now we need the cinnamon, and we're just going to do the same thing as we did down below. Going to go over everything and pull it out more toward the center. And here we're just going to leave like a smallest little spot that's bare for our green gold. And even like I said here, where our color's already in, still go ahead and go over it with that cinnamon. Remember, these colors are translucent, they're kind of see-through. So you're going to be able to see through that layer. We're still doing the same technique. The closer that you get to the center, the less pressure you want to be putting on your pencil. Alright, so that's kind of where you should be. You should have like a few little spots there that are left just for the green gold so it can shine through. And then once again, we're going to go over the whole entire thing with the green gold. You can use a little bit harder pressure at this point. This is going to be your last layer. So just go ahead and go over everything. And I'm using bigger ovals at this point. And get up close. There we go. I'm even going over this area here because, as you can see, it's still going to change that color a little bit. It's still going to put that green gold hue over it. Alright, and now, like I said, now if you don't mind the texture of the paper, you can leave yours like this. Me, I don't. Shame on me for not using my hand protector. I don't like the tooth of the paper showing through personally on my work, so I'm going to go over it with my blender. And again, just going in circles with a medium pressure, but like on the heavy end of medium. I'm not pushing super hard. And I'm just going around the whole area. Again, this is not a necessary step for everybody. If you if you think yours looks okay without it, don't even worry about it. Alright, let me just take a look at everything. Brush off my dust from my blender. And I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to get this little area right here on either side of this window. If you look, it kind of looks almost like somebody nailed some wood or something to that. So I'm not going to color that the same color, but I am going to do the inside of it. And this is going to be real quick, guys. And same principle, same thing. And then I gotta sharpen my pencils up though, because we're getting dull. And then cinnamon. We're just doing it kind of like on a smaller scale at this point though, because such a small area. And then ochre. And then the Indian red. So basically like we have been doing, I'm just going to go back over it. Burnt ochre over the Indian red. Cinnamon over the burnt ochre. And then green gold over it all. And then colorless blender to get rid of the tooth of the paper. Brush the dust away. Alright, so what we have left now is just this little like round mound or whatever that is. And it's kind of built into the side of the cap of the mushroom. So I'm going to go ahead and color that in these same colors. I think it'll kind of make everything blend together a little bit better, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm starting off with the green gold. Just a light pressure. Again, this is just like starting over down at the bottom. This is our base layer. I'm going to do my best to avoid these little circles here, because I'm going to color those whatever colors that we decide we're going to use for the tops of the mushrooms. And that will be for the next episode. Now if you want to, you can always just color right over them and go back in later with a gel pen or something to fill them in. You could use color over them with your pencils and go back in with paint later. It's really your choice. It's your book. You're the boss. You can do what you like. Alright, so now the cinnamon. I'm going to put that just down along the bottom where this little sprout is, and then up along the top. Put it down here along the bottom also. And getting in between these little circles is going to be a trick, but we can do it. And I'm going to go just a little bit around where the window is. Not too much, but just enough to make sure that when your eye sees it, it looks rounded. Okay, now for the ochre. I'm going to go in the same way as everything else. Going around the plant for a hint of shadow. Up around the edges over the cinnamon, but I'm not carrying it quite as far down as I did the cinnamon. Getting into these little tight spaces without moving this book is a trick, guys. Woo! It's alright, it's a good lesson, I need it. Good practice. And then just a really tiny amount along the door, or window, I should say. That's not a door. Alright, and then finally with the Indian red. And again, this is really just going to be kind of a hint of it. Down along the ground, I'm going to make it a little bit darker. And then we're just going to put like a real faint outline around the window. I'm not even going to bother trying to carry it up. There's not enough room for it. And again, this isn't really going to be much of a shadow. It's just going to kind of trick your eye into believing that it's curved right there. More of an illusion. Alright, so Indian red. More down at the bottom. I am going to put a very little outline around the plant to indicate shadow. And then I'm going to go around the top of this little mound. And on the sides. Anybody else finding this a little tricky? Alright, so now all that's left to do is the reverse order, the same thing we've been doing with all the other colors, just in reverse. So I'm taking my ochre, and I'm going over the Indian red, not too far out though. Again, there's not going to be a whole heck of a lot of shadow in this area, so I don't want too much. Alright guys, I am back. I am not sure what happened, but it seems that I lost a little bit of footage there. Hopefully it wasn't very much. We'll find out once I get around to editing out this video. But what happened is we now have this whole side of the mushroom house done, and we are going to move over and tackle this part of this mushroom house now, before we go ahead and call it quits for this episode. I am doing the exact same thing that I have done for the others. I am going in with my green gold, just a light layer. Now on this one we're going to have some flowers and such that we need to get around. But that's okay, we can do it. We can do it. And this is going to be an interesting one because we have this doorway that's obviously recessed. So that's going to be kind of fun to color and make it really come to life. When we're finished with it, it will actually trick your eye into believing that it is recessed. So that'll be pretty neat. Those are some techniques that you guys will be able to carry with you and use in other coloring pages as well. So again, I'm just kind of using the side of my pencil, putting in this light layer of the green gold, just to kind of serve as our little base. And what I may do is come back in with like the cinnamon and the ochre to do like the frames and the ledges and those kinds of things, because I want them to kind of match. I'm not sure if I want to do them in these colors or if I may do them to match the roofs. I haven't decided. I can't decide. I think it may be better if they match the roofs of the houses. So I'm just kind of putting my layers in around the flowers. And if it's not perfect the first go around, it really doesn't make a difference. I'm going to have to sharpen again here before the next one, so some of my pencils are definitely going to need some sharpening. Alright, so next up is cinnamon. So I'm going to go down along here where the textures are, and I'm going to put the cinnamon all around that area, because it's going to give it the darker color kind of makes those lumps come to life. I'm going to put just a small amount around this part of the frame here. And again, just a small amount on the outside and down where this texture is. Now in here, what I want to do is kind of, you see where the artist has given you the lines, correct? Where the lines are closer together is where you want the inside of this door to be darker. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling my cinnamon down to about here. And then I'm going to bring it down all the way around the side of the door and then out. So I'm basically covering all of those little lines with the cinnamon, but not this area. That area I'm leaving alone. I want to leave it like the sun's kind of shining off of that. And you'll see why when we get our darker colors in. So now I'm going down around the base with the cinnamon. I'm going to put some around this little flower, not a whole lot, but some. And then up. All around the side. And then down underneath this little ledge also. So all of this area, pretty much this whole area right here, is all going to be cinnamon. And then I am putting some of the cinnamon, just a small amount, around this window area and up around this window area. Not very much. And again, guys, just like all the times before we've been doing this, this is still just light pressure. I'm going up under where the roof hangs over. Might as well color this flower area in as well too. Again, just really light pressure, just to give a little bit. There we go. And then finally down underneath this ledge. All right. That went a little too far. This little eraser is so wonderful for those moments when your hand kind of slips. All right, so now I'm going to take my burnt ochre and I'm going to put it in the same place as I put the cinnamon, but a smaller amount so that we can still see some of the cinnamon around it. And I'm basically just going to very, very carefully outline that door. And I'm going to come up underneath this ledge. And then underneath where the roof is. This area is really hard without turning the book. I'm trying to get it done to where you guys can see what I am doing. Okay, now down around here. I'm going to go back around this window just a tiny, tiny little bit. And then I'm going to tuck some color around the flower. At this point, I'm basically just outlining it. Okay, now back down. Same thing around this window. I'm basically just going to outline it with the ochre. And underneath the ledge. And then down. Let me sharpen this up so I can get around that flower a little more carefully. There we go. And we're just going to kind of outline it. Alright, now we're back to the door so we can try to make it recessed. I'm going to go ahead and use just a light layer just right here, right in this little area. Put a very small light layer. Then I'm going to bring it in, down toward the bottom, and I'm going to raise it up. Just like that. I'm going to go outline this part of the door all the way up and around. And someone's car alarm is going off. Hopefully that won't get picked up on my microphone. There it went. I shut it off. Alright, so there's that color. Now finally we have our Indian red. And again, we're just going to put a small amount in the darkest areas. Darker down at the bottom and then feather it out. Now around these areas like this, again, it's just going to be like the faintest outline. And then up here, just the faintest little outline. Now down around the ledge, it'll be just a little bit thicker. So I'm going to outline and then pull it down. Same thing up here. I'm going to outline first. And then pull some of it down. And I'm using light pressure here still, just to get some of that color in there. This is where most of our contrast is going to come from with this. Okay, and I'm going to go around the edge just to make it look a little more three-dimensional. Outline darkly around the very, very edge with a nice sharp pencil, and then just beside that outline barely feather in some color. And then around the flower. And we're just barely putting some color here too. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to put it everywhere. You can just kind of like go in between the petals with it, and it'll serve the same purpose. It's just to serve as like some shadow, just to make that flower look like it's kind of popping off of the wall. Now you don't have to do this. You could color it and maybe to make it look like the flower is painted onto the wall, but I kind of want mine to look more three-dimensional. Okay, so around the window, a very, very thin outline with a nice sharp pencil. And then we're going to go down in the ledge. And then down at the bottom. Alright, so here's where our little doorway is really going to start to pop for us now. So first and foremost, I'm going around the bottom with the Indian red like I have with everything else. And then I'm going to carry this up. And I'm going to follow these lines. I'm going to outline this whole entire door, except for this part. I'm going to leave this little area with nothing. And I'm going to come up. And I'm going to bring this out further. Because this is going to be really dark compared to the rest of it. I'm just going to put a tiny, tiny, tiny light amount right like that. And this is what's really going to make your doorway look as if it's recessed. Alright, so now that that's in there, we're going to do the exact same thing we have been doing. I'm going to take my ochre and I'm going to go back over all of the Indian red and pull it up. And guys, I'm not even going to go around the outsides of these windows and doors again because I have all the color in there that I want. It's just to add some shape. I'm not going to go back around the flowers again. We're basically just going back around the edge of the walls here with the ochre. Go back over your Indian red. It can be darker in there, that's the point. You want it to be darker in here. Alright, now I'm going to come down and go over the areas that are underneath these ledges. Alright, finally the cinnamon, and then we'll do our green gold one more time. So the cinnamon, we're going to carry it up. Same thing over here. We're going to go over everything we've colored and bring the cinnamon down just a smidge further. Under the ledge. The bottom here. Alright, now I'm going to take the cinnamon and I'm going to go right over everything, but I'm going to leave like the tiniest, tiniest little hint there where I'm going to put my green gold, and I want it to shine through pretty heavily there. So I'm going to put the cinnamon pretty dark there otherwise. Down underneath the ledge. And down underneath this ledge, this part of it where I didn't get very well earlier. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. So now we're going to take the green gold, which is going to be the final step, and we're just going to kind of go back over everything. I'm going to use a medium pressure here. Try to keep your pressure consistent. I'm going to go back over everything again. Pencils are translucent, so even if you already have quite a bit of color in some spots, if there's any tooth left at all to grab it, it's going to, and it'll help enhance that color. So we're going to get right up in here between the flower and the window. Not moving this book. I'm getting better at it, I think. Maybe I should. I'm trying not to go too slow. I color slowly anyway. But, and then right here in the doorway. And then I think what I'm going to do is come back in and just darken this stuff up one more time, because I feel like putting those other colors on top kind of muted those dark colors, and I don't want those to be muted. I want them to show up quite a bit darker. So I'm just going over with my dark colors one more time. You may not need to. Yours may be fine. Alright, that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and take my blender now. I'm going to go over the whole thing just to fill in all the tooth. And you guys might be able to see what the blender is doing and how it's kind of transforming. It makes the colors appear just a little bit brighter, I think. And it also kind of helps to transition those lines between colors. I'm going to go right in here now and blend all this out. Make sure my colors on my pencil aren't too terribly dark, so I don't drag it around where I don't want it. And that is it. So now we have all of the walls for our mushroom houses done. I will zoom out and show you what it is looking like. I think it looks pretty darn good. What do you guys think? I think those colors look pretty nice. I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to look fantastic when we're finished. When we come back next time, I think what we're going to do is work on the roofs of all of these, and then this tree over here. I've been asked how to color tree bark, and so I can help you guys with that too. Basically, my trick to it is to add gray. Make sure you get a layer of gray in there, a nice warm gray preferably. If you go outside and you go look at a tree, the bark isn't just brown. And pretty much every single tree you look at, you're not going to see just brown in the bark. You're going to see green, you're going to see gray, you're going to see all kinds of colors. So I prefer to use like a warmer brown and then a warmer gray and just kind of mix those two colors together, and I think it gets me something that looks a whole lot more like tree bark, a whole lot more like natural tree bark. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this part of the color along here today. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you are enjoying the results that you are getting with your Polychromos pencils in your book, or whatever pencils it is that you are using, because honestly, any of them, these tips will apply to pretty much anything that you're going to color in any book that you're going to color. So I hope that you guys are really getting something out of it and it's making sense to you guys. We will come back again here in a few days and we'll work on it just a little bit more. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, because that's going to help a whole lot in helping other people find it. If you haven't subscribed and you want to follow along with the rest of this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and then hit the notification bell so that you will know when new content is available for you. If you're interested in buying any of the supplies that you saw in the video today, you can find my Amazon affiliate links in the description box below. You're also going to find links to my Amazon wishlist, social media accounts. Everything that you could need is down there. I know that some people are having a hard time finding the description box, and it is a little tricky from a mobile device. There should be a little arrow just under the video, so if you tap that little arrow, the description box should open up and you'll find all that information. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in today and following along with me. And until we meet again for episode 3, happy coloring.